What's up, y'all? All right, so today I have a very special interview. I have a young man, Markeas Jones, that actually hit me up not even a week ago now, wanting to get back in school, just get back on track with basketball and in life in general. He shared his story with me, and I felt like his story is something that can, I think, not only inspire a lot of young black athletes, but also I think a lot of young guys can relate to his story because a lot of y'all are in similar situations. And so I want to let Marquise kind of share his story with you, and then talk about where he is now and what he has going on, and we'll go from there. Marquise, let's start at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Kind of tell me a little bit about your story as far as growing up. Like, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm gonna start when I was about 9 years old. Like I was telling you, it was hard growing up without a father. And when I say not a father, he was there. So my dad passed away when I was 9 years old. Actually, woke up to it. He had a heart attack and stuff like that, and yeah, it was real hard on the family. So with that being said, just growing up in Dyersburg, Tennessee, being around a lot of bad things and stuff like that. Just
Yeah.
growing up without a father is very hard, as you say. Moving around state to state. So when I was about 13, 14, I actually moved to Columbus, Georgia.
Mm.
Started playing ball, middle school ball and stuff like that. But I just couldn't stay focused with all that's around me, being in the wrong crowd, things like that. And I actually found myself getting in trouble in school and stuff like that. So I ended up at 16 years old going to juvenile and stuff like that for a year, unfortunately. But that led to me not being able to finish school, getting out of juvenile, really just trying to change my life around, getting my GED, stuff like that, just trying to change it and stay with basketball because basketball has always been just the number one thing I've always wanted to do. Rather it's playing basketball, just staying around basketball, teaching it. I mean, I just want to be around it all. So I always had a passion for it. And
Yeah.
here lately, just trying to stay on the court. Playing ABA, semi-pros, men leagues. I mean, you name it. Just trying to stay focused and try to strive for greatness.
Yeah.
And then here we are. I met you, coach, and I reached out to you, and I'm like, hey, I don't want this dream to be over. You know what I mean? I want to strive. I want to try to see what I can do with it. And
Yeah.
with me being older than the guys that's actually trying to do what I'm doing right now, it makes it harder. And it is a lot of people that want to do the things that I'm doing now. Like you say, it's just a thing, or is it too late? I'm scared to kind of throw myself out there now, just knowing that I'm just not in the age group as everyone else.
Yeah.
But hey, if you want something, you got to go get it. It's a difference between wanting something and needing something, and it's also something like you can want it and need it.
Yeah.
So if you stay dedicated to what you want to do, go for it. It's never too late to do something. And if you want it, just strive for greatness and just try to, find connections and things like that. So I'm so glad that I found you, Coach.
So you talked a little bit about feeling older than the other guys. I feel like you came kind of in the right time, actually. If you think about maybe 2 years ago, then that would have maybe been the case. I think you're 21 now, 22?
Yeah, 23
Yeah.
actually.
So
Yeah.
2 years ago, then that may have been the case because we didn't have as many changes to eligibility as we do now. After COVID, a lot changed when it came to how we're recruiting post grad positions. Even JUCOs now are, keeping eligibility alive. So there's like so many different things where now your average freshman come probably this year and on forward, your average freshman at a 4-year school is probably going to be your age. Like, truth
Okay.
be told, somewhere between 21 and 23, because they're getting so many extensions to how they're able to keep their eligibility alive. So your age isn't really as scary as it used to be. And then, that for me, that's the type of work that I've always done. I look at kids like yourself and just try to figure out what's the next step. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if you're willing to do the work legitimately, then you deserve a second chance.
Yes, sir.
Especially because, you told your story, you were young. You were only 16 years old. And
Yeah.
yeah, you know right from wrong as a teenager, but you're still a kid. And like you said, if you don't have those male figures in your life that are holding you accountable for doing the right thing, then it's going to be a lot easier to go along with the crowd.
Yeah.
Especially being from where we're from, Columbus, Georgia, Phoenix City. As small as it is, it's very easy to get trapped in that lifestyle. Of just doing some big stuff, but a lot of it's just little petty little things that just get you tangled up in that web.
Yes, sir.
So I applaud you, first and foremost for even taking that first step. I think there's probably 100 of you right now probably looking at their phone every single day. I'm gonna message him and I'm gonna ask him for help. I'm gonna hold myself accountable for what I've done and I'm gonna try to
Right.
move forward. And they don't send the message for those same reasons, fear. Am I too old? Is it too late? Do I have to share my story with these coaches? And that was something that I told you. You can be as transparent as you want to be, but you can also allow boundaries still. Like, regardless of what you've done, you still deserve that respect to say, there's a certain point that I don't want to go to. There's a certain level that I don't want to discuss. And that's why I told you, anytime you feel uncomfortable, include me and I'll make sure I speak on your behalf because you deserve to be given this second chance.
Yeah.
I applaud you for that, and I thank you, for taking that first step because it definitely warms my heart every single time like a kid takes that turn, because
Yeah.
the alternative. Once you
Yes, sir.
get stuck in that life at your age, at 23, being in that life is not the same as it is at 15, 16. You
Yeah.
go before a judge at 23, they're looking to destroy you at this point,
Yes, sir.
So I applaud you for that. So
Thank you.
tell me, kind of walk me through the day. I know you wrote me probably a week ago. Like, what made you decide to message me?
So, like I say, you knew DeAndre Reynolds, Keyshawn Reynolds, and you helped them with a lot of sports. I used to be real close to them. I used to go to Miss Christie house. I used to spend the night and stuff like that. Middle school ball, AAUs, and she was like another mom to me. So just seeing you and the guys just work like y'all did, and just to strive, like I could see in their face, like they really wanted it, and I could just tell that you was a real good mentor. You wanted good for the kids. So, I was just looking and I'm like, hey, I really want to do this, and I know that he's probably someone I can trust. He's been around people that I know real well. So I just gave it a shot. I went ahead and text you and just see what goes. And you've been there for me a lot.
That's big. I know you told me a story that you saw us working out one day and you didn't come over there.
Yeah.
You didn't want to disrupt. So so that was in what, maybe 2019. So what have you been doing since then? That was 2019. So between then and now, what have you been doing?
So I did forget to mention. So I have a daughter.
Mhm.
I have a daughter. She's 3 now. So I was real young and just trying to figure out the father thing.
Yeah.
Just making sure that I kept the job, making sure that she has the food and clothes and toys and everything she needs. I'm just trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay afloat. I would say now it's coming a time where hey, I got this, I got this thing down, and I'm just ready to try to chase my dreams, and I know that my daughter's gonna be good.
Yeah. And, she's gonna, I think when she gets a little older, she'll understand exactly what you did at this stage of her life. That's real big for me when I look at my son. The biggest thing for me is leading by example. I push him all the time to, follow his dreams, think big, to be creative. And then, when he looks at me, I have to ask myself, am I doing the exact same thing? What am I modeling?
Right.
And so I think that she's going to understand exactly what you did in this moment. Your daughter wasn't born in the midst of all your troubles.
Yeah.
So she's not going to be privy to the juvenile and all that kind of stuff. She's concerned about that. Even if she was, she wouldn't be concerned about that. She's worried more about you. Are you happy? One thing about your emotional capacity is it shows whether or not you know it or not. When you're not in a good place mentally or emotionally or spiritually, it's going to show. And the one person or people in the world that hold the bulk of that is always going to be your kids. They feel a lot more than you think they do. So, once again, another applaud for you for understanding that and for doing this for her.
Right.
So once again, I applaud you. What you're doing is brave. So let's talk more. You play in the adult league.
Right.
So you've been playing with them for what, the last year or 2 years?
2 years. Yeah.
How'd you get started with that?
So this is Coach. His name is Coach Alton Hicks.
Mm.
He actually coached the Columbus Skyhawks. And I started with men league, church leagues, and things like that, just little small things. But then I found him,
Yeah.
and he does ABA, semi pros, and stuff like that. Also have cameramen and things like that. And I just feel like it would be good for film and stuff like that if I wanted to try to go to the next level because competition is really key to the films and stuff like that. The coaches really want to see you playing at a high level and seeing if you're a fit. So I just took that chance and I wanted to go ahead and do a little bit of semi-pro ball and stuff like that just so I can get film and get comfortable with playing with higher level.
So how have you handled I know you've been told no probably a few times on this
Yes, sir.
journey.
Yeah,
How have you handled those moments? You know, the no's, the negative feedback you may have gotten, you know, even just coming out of where you've been and kind of thinking about taking this journey. How have you handled I guess like public perception of like what people are gonna
right.
say or what they are saying?
So, I mean, just really understanding the route I took, understanding that everything isn't peaches and cream. You got to put in the work. And then with the path that I went down, I have to understand that it's not going to be as easy as others.
Yeah.
People coming out, getting a diploma, and playing all, years of high school ball and stuff like that. It might be just a tad bit easier.
Yeah.
So just the route that I'm taking, men league and ABA and stuff like that, I knew just coming in it would be just a little bit harder. And just trying to stay humble and trying to have good hopes, good spirits, and just trust the process. So
Yeah.
just stay focused and humble.
I mean, I'll tell you, you're but the coaches I talk to, you know, all the time, you're what coaches are looking for. You know, of course, yeah, we would love for, like you said, it to be an easier route, but you're what coaches are looking for: the work ethic, the determination, you know, the resilience. The
Yes,
things
sir.
you've been through, most kids will not see half of the struggle that you've seen, the pain that you've endured in their whole entire lifetime. And you've seen it and been through it at this young age. So when you take kids like that and you put them in programs, you become the instant leader of these programs. You become the person that's in the gym first, person that leaves the gym last, because you
Yes,
have
sir.
so much more that you're doing it for. So
Right.
coaches love to bring kids like you onto the program. It's just you have to find that right fit. You know, it's
Yes, sir.
always going to be a no, but at the end of the day, coaches will tell you no, even if you're dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, people still tell
Yeah.
you no. So
Yes,
your
sir.
journey isn't one that I think is necessarily unnecessarily hard for you. I think
Mhm.
it's one that's built is made to build you to be the kind of man that God's intending you to be.
Yes, sir.
Because what you're doing, you know, your resilience alone is next level. You know, so what would you say? Because for me, you know, my first time not working with kids that are coming out of, you know, juvie and things like that was these past couple of years. I started working more with kids that are in high school. You know, I was living in Huntsville.
Yes, sir.
And I honestly would tell you that was probably my worst experience. You know, I'll be completely honest
Yeah.
with you. What would you say to a kid that's going through what you've been through right now? You know, that 15-year-old or 14-year-old that is in the streets, that's getting in
Mhm.
trouble, maybe found themselves in juvie right now. What would you
Yeah.
say to them as far as that next step?
So, yeah, I mean, I would tell them first off saying, the streets is not for anyone. It can only lead you two places, jail or death. Just really think strongly on what you want in life because, at the end of the day, you don't get no younger. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? You got to survive. And, the world is getting a bit harder to live, So I would tell them just find something you want to do, even if it's not basketball, sports, or whatever. Find something you're good at, find something that you might love to do, and just go for it because nothing is impossible. Like
yeah,
like we were saying the other day, I mean, just work hard. Find you a couple of people that are going down the right path and stuff like that. Just try to surround yourself around better people, and yeah, just do it. You know what I'm saying? Just stop holding back. Stop being scared of stuff. Just find you a mentor. Things like that.
yeah. Would you say if you could go back to 15, knowing what you know now, what change would you make to kind of change your path? Like, what's one thing that you would do differently?
Definitely, definitely take education in school way more serious than I did, regardless of what I was going through and stuff like that. Just try to find something that'll keep me in. I didn't have mentors or people that I could look up to, men wise. Trying to find someone like that, getting closer to coaches and stuff like that. Feel like it would have been great for me to finish my school ball and stuff like that.
Were you at Russell County?
Yes, sir. I was at Russell County, middle, a little bit of ninth, and then I went to Central for a tad bit of time before I was went to juvie. Yeah,
Which experience do you think you enjoyed more, Russell County or Central?
definitely Russell County.
Russell,
Because
really?
Russell, yeah, definitely Russell County because it's small. It's smaller than Central. People are almost like family. Everyone knows each other. We've been here since middle school. And the coaching staff they're really good. I love Coach Battle
Yeah,
and everything. The way he handled his guys and stuff like that. I really did want to play for him, but yeah, I just was down the wrong path, and I wish I could have changed that and got closer to Coach Battle for sure.
yeah. Would you? Hmm, let's trying to think how to phrase it. What would you say is your greatest opportunity as far as on the court and in life? I don't use the word weakness, so instead of saying your weakness, what would be your greatest opportunity for growth? You can give me some of your things on the court, like whether it be like your left hand or right hand, and then give me some things that you want to grow in as far as life as well.
So you're saying what is one of my weaknesses?
Well, yeah,
Or
but I
saying what I could throw in more? Okay, yeah, right, right. Yeah, I would say really just attacking. I've changed my game a lot. I've grown and my height and build has gotten better or bigger. So just attacking, that's what I've been working on because I've always been a shooter. I've always been able to shoot the ball really well at a high rate. So I'm just attacking and going into someone's chest, kind of drawing the foul and things like that. I feel like I could improve.
okay.
Yeah, I feel like I could improve on that.
So are you doing that in training? A lot of attacking?
Yes, yes, just attacking and dribbling. Work on dribbling a lot. Of course, a little bit of shooting and stuff. But really, I just mainly focus on attacking to the rim at the left hand side and stuff like that. Yeah,
Gotcha. And okay, so when you get to one of these programs, because you have a few that you have to choose from,
yes, sir.
what would be the area that you want to grow in as far as your personal life? Because you'll be more than likely in a dorm setting or you'll be on campus
Right.
a lot. So what would you look to grow? What are you looking for out of the experience of being at a school?
Experience is everything. Just trying to find people that just want to strive for greatness just as much as I do. I'm just seeing people be successful and grow.
Mhm.
That'd be real big for me. Just being around the environment and just seeing how the training is, how the games are, the big lights. It'll really turn me into the person I need to be to feel it all in,
Yeah.
basically. So,
What do you want to major in?
athletic training and sports management.
Okay. So what do you want to do with that?
So, of course, I want a degree in physical training, sports management because I do want to stay around the game of basketball or around athletic people. So just training them when they have the rehab or something like that. Can't really get on the court. Just helping them with their health and stuff like that. Or I could take it a route where I coach middle school, high school basketball, or assist and try to help young guys, maybe young guys that have the same story as me,
Yeah.
just trying to keep them, with their head on straight. It would be really good for me to do.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
You'll definitely connect with a lot of guys from telling your story.
Yes,
And
sir.
a lot of guys need it, and you can speak for that. Like I said, like that's been pretty much my whole entire adult life has been kids like yourself. And honestly, like I said, like it didn't get really hard for me until I got to working with kids who on paper seem like they have a very easy route.
Right.
They're in school, they got the grades, they got, parents at
Mhm.
home, they got, decent money, they come from pretty
Mhm.
much, good, life. But that entitlement then kicks in.
Mhm.
I feel like there's a hunger that you have to make it in sports at any level.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you're going to have kids who do come from good means, but there's something within them that wants to go to that next level. There's the hunger within them.
All right.
Kids like yourself, like you said, you need it.
Yes, sir.
You want it, but you need it. Like this is your ticket to, I wouldn't say your ticket, 'cause I think at this point, I think you pretty much have a solid focus of staying on the straight and narrow. But
Yes, sir.
ideally, this is really your ticket to kind of punch that ticket for you, kind of give you that
Yes,
route.
sir.
So like you said, you need it. And for that
Yeah.
reason alone, you're going to go a lot further than most. I will challenge you, when you get to any of these programs, every school has their ups and they have their downs. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
every roster is going to have the ones that stay in the gym all the time, the ones that really want to win, and then they're going to have those guys that are just there.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
they feel what the city's about. They end up going to parties and getting caught up in that local crowd.
Yes, sir.
So there's still going to be some crossroads for you. You're going to have to make those decisions once you get there, what type
Right.
of person you're going to be at this next chapter. Because again,
Yes, sir.
it's going to be easy to get caught up in that city, wherever you're
Right.
at. There's always going to be locals wanting you to come here, do this, do that. So what would you say is your plan to handle that aspect? Like what's going to keep you focused?
So, yeah, like I was saying, well, like you just said, just the hunger that I have such hunger, especially being in the position I'm in, and then the guys that probably, like you say, just there, already been to school and just kind of ease their way in.
Yeah,
I'm pushing myself in, like I'm trying to get somewhere I need it, and I want to do great. So, just definitely staying away from them crowds, and I'm just trying to stay for solo and focused. Of course, engaged in the team and stuff like that. Create bonds with people, but on that type of level, really just locked in myself because at the end of the day, we all have our things we got to do. As men, we gotta go out there. We gotta compete. Just staying locked in, staying in that gym every day, just trying to work as hard as I can, making sure the coach know I'm there first, I'm there last, things like that.
yeah.
Just trying to stay focused. That's all.
And that kind of answers the next question as well, because I was going to say, for me, you're in a really good place right now because where we're at as a whole when it comes to recruitment, it's hard for everybody. It's hard to get anybody placed anywhere. And
Yeah.
those intangibles make a difference. The character of a person makes a difference. And when I first talked to you, one thing I was really pressing you hard about was just kind of keeping your head up, being kind of proud of where you are now, not really
Yes, sir.
worrying about your past,
Mhm.
because the intangibles in your character are what are going to make coaches really gravitate towards you.
Yes, sir.
Right now, with NILs, with JUCOs allowing, eligibility to be, kept, with, you got D1 Power 4 players deciding to go down to a JUCO to get playing time and then go back to the D1 later on. So it's making it very hard to place anybody. But,
Yeah.
these high schoolers that kind of have it handed to them, they
Yeah.
don't really work that hard. They don't really go through the levels and the motions of it.
Yes, sir.
They're not getting placed. It's
Yeah.
very hard to place them. So with you, you kind of have the mindset, I'm getting in wherever I can get in. And then I'm
Yes,
going to
sir.
fight my way up.
Right.
A lot of kids right now, they want to get at the top. They want to
Hmm.
start at the top. They feel like, well, I'm better than this person, or I'm too good to play JV, or I'm too good to play JUCO, or I'm too good to play NAIA. But then they end
Right.
up staying at home.
That's it. Yeah. That is another thing I wanted to say. Just putting your pride to the side, accepting where you're at. Stop. Just don't try to climb the ladder too fast. Trust the process. Trust the coaches,
Yeah,
and just play your game. It'll come if it's destined and you're good, and stuff like that. And you really want it. It'll come. Just be humble and put that pride to the side.
absolutely. You're gonna definitely go far just off of that alone, and that's
Yes,
the
sir.
thing, and you got me now, whatever you need, I'm gonna be here, and it's gonna get hard, you're gonna have, depending on where you go, you're gonna have, hard practices, hard days, hard nights, hard classes,
Yes, sir.
stuff is gonna get hard, you're gonna miss your daughter, things are gonna definitely start getting hard,
Yes, sir.
but we're gonna make it through. We're gonna get all the way to the end, to where we're trying to go. And there's a lot of opportunities, overseas and different things that you can
Yes,
do to
sir.
keep playing as well. I think your journey is really just beginning.
Yes, sir.
So I'm glad to be a part of it. Talk about all the opportunities that you have. I keep kind of going around the circle of
Mhm.
the main point. So can you tell us some of the offers that you've picked up so far?
Yes, sir. So I got Florida Coastal
Yeah.
looking at me, Allen University, New Rock, Bruton, Tennessee Valley, and a couple more I can't think of. I think they're very new, but
Yeah.
it's a couple. It's a couple, and it's only been like a week. I'm just so thankful for this process, and I'm thankful for finding you again. And yeah, like you said, it's just a beginning. Yeah, I'm very thankful.
So are you leaning towards one school more than others or any two?
Yeah. I got two that I really like. I talked to the coaches, and we kind of got a little plan going on. So kind of leaning towards them two. Not just so sure yet who I might pick, but yeah.
And how far are those two programs away from your daughter?
So yeah, that's another thing. Just maybe trying to stay a little bit closer to home.
Yeah.
Bruton is close. It's actually in Vernon,
Hmm.
Georgia. That's real close to where I'm at. Also, South Carolina is not that far. So, Columbia, South Carolina, and Allen University is not that far either, and actually are great schools, great coaching from what I'm hearing. So, yeah,
I'm excited for you, man. Like,
yeah,
and the good thing about both of those are they're both driving distance, so your daughter will be able
yes,
to get up there and watch you play, in some home
yes, sir,
game. I get to see you do what you love. And then depending on how the housing situation works, I think I think most of them may do like kind of like apartment style housing. So you may have opportunity to even bring her up and let her stay a weekend with you and stuff like that.
yes, sir,
So I think you're in a good place. Either one that you choose. I think there's a couple more in the pipeline that'll come through, but all in
mhm,
all, I think you have a good idea of what's going to work out best because they're very close, and staying
yes,
close
sir,
I know is important to you.
yes, sir.
So before we get off, what would you like to say to, um, your family, the
Mhm.
supporters?
Yeah. So, definitely want to give a shout out to my mom. Always just being in my corner and stuff. Like I say, I'm not having a father since I was 9 years old. She just was doing it all on her own and
Yeah,
just trying to make sure that I stayed in basketball and stuff like that. So for her to hear that I found you and I'm doing this thing now, she's just the most in my corner right now.
yeah.
Shout out to my little sister, my big brother. They all in my corner. Yeah, Coach Hicks, of course, for putting me through that ABA on the semi-pro. And last but not least, of course, you for finding me and trusting in me, a kid that had a tough path, and stuff like that. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody for the opportunity, of course.
Man, I appreciate you for doing it,
Yes, sir.
for getting on the path. And now I think the easy part would be once you make that decision, once you commit to that one, and the process begins of just kind of working your way with that program. I think you'll find that it's going to be a little bit easier than you think it's going to be. It'll just
Okay.
be a
Yeah.
matter of kind of getting in a rhythm, getting used to going to classes and stuff again.
Yes, sir.
I want you to enjoy yourself. I know you're gonna feel like you're older than most, but still enjoy yourself. Enjoy the college
Yes, sir.
experience. Enjoy being part of the team. If they have organizations and stuff like that on campus, join,
Yes,
especially
sir.
within your field. If you know what you're majoring in, join organizations in that field or start
Right.
making connections.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like you may end up finding that you may end up staying in that city. You may find opportunities there. You may move your family up there. Um,
Right.
you just never know. So, make those connections, network as much as you can, and just
Yes,
have
sir.
fun.
Yes,
Celebrate
sir.
yourself, pat yourself on the back. You know, um, it's a good time, man. I'm proud of you,
Yes, sir.
and
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what happens. But I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing your story. I do know a couple of guys in your situation, and I hope
Mhm.
that they find that switch to flip as well. I understand they can also do it. One is out and one is right now in juvie right now. So I'll
Mhm.
definitely be making sure he sees this and kind of hears your story.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you telling your story, and I hope that you take this as far as you can.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, coach.